It's time for another Out and About with Jamie Grout Shortcast. This is where we kind of sum up the podcast that we just recorded with the man to my right and your left, outgoing Sheriff of Jasper County, John Halferty. John, thank you so much for joining me here today. Let's delve into your years in law enforcement. How many years have you been in law enforcement?
I'll be in just short of 38 years here this month.
Okay.
And I'll be retiring December 31st.
And what are some of your more memorable experiences?
Oh, wow. It's hard to pinpoint because you don't want to prioritize, but I definitely have been blessed as sheriff for 12 years. Early on, I never would have imagined running or being the sheriff of Jasper County. But as I mentioned earlier, it's just been a kind of a long traveled road, and but it's been very blessed.
You know, I didn't ask you this in the podcast, but I was going to ask you, were you in law enforcement when the Copper Dollar Ranch murders happened?
No, I wasn't. And, you know, when you ask about one of my memorable events, if you recall, I brought in, actually, when Sheriff Balmer was finishing his last term, Cold Justice, the show, was going to come in, and Mike and I had talked, we were going to use them, and they canceled on us, and then they came in a couple years later when I was sheriff, and that case always piqued my interest because I was actually in high school when Melissa Gregory and Stephen Fisher were murdered at that ranch, and it was still unsolved. And so Sheriff Balmer had actually worked the crime scene, and I came on just a couple years after that case, and eventually, as you know, I started working the case.
Yeah. You told an interesting experience about how, you gave CPR quite a few times and had lost quite a few people, but there was one time that was very gratifying to you. You saved somebody's life.
Yeah, it really was. Someone I knew very well, too. But the reason I mention that is, for you first responders, I didn't have to go to that call. I just happened to be close. It came in as a difficulty breathing, but I went to the call and not knowing who it was, but felt like I could help, and it changed drastically. I don't mean to laugh, only because for my luck, it wasn't a difficulty breathing, it was a cardiac arrest, someone I knew. And after doing it so many times and not being, I guess, successful, I don't really like that word, in my mindset was I was going to do what I was trained to do, but I didn't think I was going to get a good outcome. And I started early intervention CPR, and as I mentioned, I had a great Newton fire team, showed up very quickly, and working together, that individual's alive and well today. And it was an encouragement to me and others to never give up, to always do what you're supposed to do.
All right. And you have a DARE program going on at a couple of the schools in Jasper County. Tell us about that.
Sure. So right now we're teaching in Linville, Sully, and the Sully Christian. I think it's every other year. And we have taught in the past at all the other districts except Newton, and it's on as requested basis. And we'll continue to do that. That curriculum is developed regularly or reviewed, and as long as the school districts want us there, we're going to continue to provide those resources.
So tell us about crime in Jasper County. There's different categories of crime, domestic violence, there's homicides, it's all that stuff. Is crime on the upswing? Has it been reduced? Is it about the same? How's it going in Jasper County now?
Yeah, I think it ebbs and flows. We'll have a string of burglaries, or we'll have traffic issues where we have to enforce traffic violations. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of the major crimes, and I say this as we call it knock on wood, we don't have a lot of homicides and armed robberies, but we do what we can, and we address it if we notice a trend in a certain area, drug violations, burglaries, thefts, things of that nature. We do what we can to address them.
You said in the podcast one of the challenges, I think, is balancing your emotions, and it's got to be a challenge. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit, John.
Yeah, they do teach us, and some first responders and law enforcement officers are very good about never shedding a tear, so to speak, never allowing a chink in their armor. And what I've learned over the years is it's okay to care. It's okay to have some emotions as long as you can still do your job. I've said many times and I continue to say it, we are way behind in taking care of our law enforcement and first responders first. We need to take care of them, provide resources for this vast amount of trauma and tragedy that they're seeing over the course of their career, and not providing resources. We need to provide resources to them, because how can we expect them to take care of the public if we're not taking care of them?
And you have an open house for your retirement coming up. It was kind of planned, and it's going to be at the Jasper County Fairgrounds. Tell us about that a little bit before we wrap up.
Yeah, we love the fairgrounds. My wife's been on the fair board for many years. Our kids went through the fair process, and so she selected that location on January 4th, a Saturday in the afternoon. And, I'm very honored and blessed and humbled by it. But we'll have a retirement reception there, and the public's invited.
Thanks to you and your crew for all your years of keeping Jasper County safe, John.
Thanks, Jamie.
We appreciate it.
I've been honored. Thank you.
My interview guest this time around has been outgoing Jasper County Sheriff John Halferty on Out and About with Jamie Grout.